Hey whiz kids, hope your week's going well. You've got me for story time today, so I'm going to start this off with one simple question. How many of you know someone who's really tall? No, like really tall. Like so tall they could touch the ceiling. Well, today we're going to talk about a giant who was, giant. Now a lot of you, maybe even all of you, are going to know this story backwards, forwards and upside down better than me, and that's okay. But I want you to pay attention anyway. Listen close, because we're going to talk about some things you probably never realized about a story you've heard 100 times over. The Philistine army is headed toward Israel, and they aren't out to make new friends. They have one purpose, and that is to divide Israel's army in two. Because if the nation of Israel is separated, they become weaker, and that means that the Philistines win. Mission accomplished. So King Saul marches his army toward the incoming Philistine army. He wants to cut them off before they can come any closer. So King Saul and the army of Israel meet the Philistine army in the valley of Elah. The armies of Israel is on the northern ridge, and the army of the Philistines is on the southern ridge. And then nobody moves. It's very anticlimactic. Neither army wants to retreat, but neither do they want to charge into battle. At least, not yet. So the Philistine army sends down their mightiest warrior into the valley floor, and he calls out to the Israelites, "Where are ye? Come out to set your battle in array. Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me." The giant's name, you probably already know, is Goliath. Well, as many of you probably know, none of the Israelites are really all that interested in going down into the valley to fight this giant warrior with his glistening bronze armor, his sword and his spear at the ready. For days Goliath taunts them, calling anyone who will listen to him, "Come down and fight me." If they win, the Philistines will surrender. If Goliath wins, all of Israel will become the servants of the Philistine army and be slaves for the rest of their lives. As you might imagine, no one in the Israelite army was really all that keen on fighting Goliath. It kind of seemed like a death wish, and for most people, it was. Who wants to go fight a huge warrior to the death and risk his whole nation's freedom in the process? No one volunteers. That is, until David arrives to check on his brothers. Hearing and seeing Goliath, David immediately volunteers to fight him. "I'll do it." King Saul, understanding that David's odds of winning don't look that great, tries to help him out by giving him some of his own battle armor. But David says, "No, thank you." David is going to fight Goliath on his own terms. So David begins to walk down to the valley floor, picking up 5 stones along the way. Seeing David approaching, Goliath begins to laugh. Ha 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 ha. The best Israel can send is some random short guy? This is going to be cake. Now many of you knows what happens next, but I want to share something with you that you probably didn't know. Most of you know that David takes a sling with a stone inside and kills Goliath when the stone lands in his forehead. But most of us, almost all of us, think of David as using some sort of a kid's toy. A slingshot doesn't sound that impressive. Slingers, though, as they were called back in those days, were really very good with this simple weapon. Most of them could hit a target 200 yards away. For those of you who are football fans, it's twice the length of a football field. It's a really long way. And not just that, many of them could hit a bird while it was flying. They were very accurate with this weapon. And that's all really cool, but we still don't think of that stone as coming out of the sling that fast, do we? That's where we're wrong. For starters, the stones in the valley of Elah were made of barium sulfate, so they were twice as dense as a stone that you'd find in your garden. They were heavier and they were more dangerous. Combine this with the fact that a rock coming out of a slingshot typically flew at 35 meters per second, and you aren't talking about a kid's toy anymore. The rock from David's sling had the stopping power of a handgun, a 45 caliber handgun. So it was a pretty dangerous weapon. I mean, it had to have been, because David's sling took out the Philistines' mightiest warrior. You see, God wasn't just putting David in a fight against Goliath to help in the war. God was showing us something about David and something about Saul. Do you remember what Saul did when David offered to go and fight Goliath? He laughed, and he tried to give David his armor. He was trying to make David's outward appearance look stronger, and he wasn't trusting in God. David trusted that what God had was enough. That's why Israel needed a new king, and that's why God appointed David to be the next king. Because David trusted God to, no matter what was happening in the world around him, and that was something that God wanted in a leader. We can all trust God because God knows what we don't. God always has our best interest at heart, and He has our future in mind. We don't have to be something we aren't for God to use us. We can be a little shepherd with just a slingshot and a rock, and God will use us to defeat the biggest giant in the world. And there we have it, the story of David and Goliath. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you're doing really well, and I really do hope that we get together soon. Take care. Bye.